So one of the reasons, I should say, this is part 4 of my first learning analysis journal. So the practical application section, and one of the things that, one of the reasons I got into education in the first place is trying to figure out what it takes to make a well-rounded human being, and that's, to me, is somebody that is mostly kind, but also open-minded, is intuitive, is clever, and is a benefit to society. Somebody that's going to be able to work with other people, and if they can't work with other people, how can they still be productive, and how can they still actually contribute to a community of some sort? And I think this comes down to really having a knowledge of different learning styles, different intelligences, being able to then bridge those different intelligences too, and make your students just aware of the vast amount of differences between everybody, that really makes a community solid, and really makes for a good recipe for critical learning and critical thinking. If One of the things, again, that I sort of mentioned in the generalizing section is that, it's, for me, it's like not letting students skate by on mediocre work, because at that point, what does it do, right? It doesn't. I mean, you're really missing out on like a full potential of a ZPD. And so when I think about going back into and working, we will be working with these W. Baer paragraphs in the future, is to really look at what have we learned, what did we do last time, and then how do we build on that? How do we make sure that our that if we're writing these paragraphs, that we end up having a paragraph that is not only grammatically and syntextually correct, but then having like an analysis that's worthwhile, that's having evidence that really pinpoints on the thesis of that paragraph. How do we do that type of thing? And there, again, are many different ways to do that. Sometimes students need some extra time to complete an assignment, which I think is you need to be flexible with the ways that you teach, and the ways that you are explaining things to these kids. And you also need to be relatable and real with it, and help these students also believe that they are doing a worthwhile assignment. Sort of looking at, one of the things that the book talks about is fostering creativity and accelerating through certain subjects if need be, so that your students stay engaged and they don't get bored. One of the things that I think about for Braden especially is that he's a really good writer, so how do you go ahead and how do you make him write more? And if it's not going to be through a social, or if it's not going to be through like a peer review, then how can I myself as a role model be a way to help him write more? For Nick, it's really getting him interested and getting that intrinsic motivation to have him not apathetic about the homework, and have him excited to be doing, have him be excited about being in this language arts class. For Lexi, it's going to be, how do you get her to open up a little bit more? How do you get her to want to talk to other people? And how do you get her to be comfortable with her own writing, so that she can share it, and so that she can emulate the writing that she finds so important in the books that she likes to read? And then for Malin, it's taking her as an example, right? And exemplifying her open nature, and being excited to talk to all of the students in the classroom, regardless of what they look like, who they are, what they're interested in, all of these things, and being able to wrap that into one cohesive classroom where everybody can learn from each other's different learning styles, from their different learning preferences, from the things that they're passionate about, and the reasons that they may or may not like language arts. And for me, that's the biggest part. It's how do you get them motivated? How do you get them to be friends? How do you get them, the students, to foster that safe learning environment? And that's something that, as I go forward in my observations, and as I am on my career path here to become a secondary language arts teacher, how can I effectively do that?